Hello, in this video we will discuss about the epilepsy, the seizure, and what is the mechanism and the treatment as well as diagnosis we will learn. So first of all, we should need to understand the generalized seizure. So this is a person which that contain a central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord. Brain contain neurons, and this is the unmyelinated neurons in the form of neuroglial cell. And this is the plasma membrane and cytoplasm and contain DNA in the form of chromosome. So the brain complication is involving for the epilepsy. So the genetic mutation and family history is involving. So on the other hand, the epilepsy can be occur due to the causes injury in the brain, tumor, stroke, infection, and the birth defect. So the early age which that is involving. So let's begin to understand the generalized seizure. And the generalized seizure, which that we will discuss about the type of generalized seizure, and the basically is the two type of seizure, the partial focal, while the generalized. We will discuss after this generalized seizure type. So in this way, here is the tonic seizures. The epilepsy type is the tonic seizure, is a generalized, which that will lead to stiffening of muscle and muscle tone will be increased, will lead to drop down the person suddenly. While on the other hand, the absence seizure, in this way in children, basically usually, and loss of awareness and the blinking of eyes and the change of their mood and emotion. So the changes of the emotional condition. And clonic seizure is basically involving the rhythmical movements of more than one muscle shivering. And also the myoclonic seizures. This myoclonic seizure type of epilepsy in this way. Here is the clonic seizure with rhythmically movement of more than one muscle shivering, while the myoclonic is the more than one muscle involves. So anyhow, so let's understand further the type of generalized seizure. So the tonic cloning seizures. In this way, the loss of the unconsciousness and bladder uncontrol will lead to urination. And this is the combination of muscle stiff and jerky. While the atonic seizure also involving in the generalized seizure type, in this manner the sudden loss of muscle tone, which may cause the person to collapse or drop down, for example their neck or shoulder or something. If the person is sitting in the chair, so the head will be moved down due to the sudden loss of muscle tone. So this was the generalized seizure. Let's begin to understand the two type of seizure further. Basically, we will understand. So this is the generalized, but the partial or focal seizure is also involving. This is the type of seizure. In this way, the generalized mean the effect throughout the brain, the limbic system. And on the other hand, the partial focal is the basically is the point, the region wise of the brain. So this is involving the neurons, inhibitory neurons and excitatory neurons. Black color is showing the inhibitory, while the stimulation for the nerve impulse is through excitatory neuron, while the interneuron also present and the neuroglial cell is present. So this is excitatory neuron and inhibitory neuron is involving for the epilepsy. This is the glial cell. And the glial cell is important for the neurotransmitter uptake, release of the neuroactive compounds, synthesis of neurotransmitters, precursors, which that is used for the neurotransmission, the depolarization of the nerve impulse to trigger the nerve impulse. So this is the region we are understanding from here. So this is the presynaptic neuron and postsynaptic neuron. So the neurotransmitter uptake and release of neuroactive compounds and synthesis of neurotransmitter precursor through glial cell. And this is the sportive part of the brain. The function is this, and this is the basically uptake of release of neuroactive compounds. So this is the presynaptic neuron and this postsynaptic neuron. Postsynaptic neuron, so when transmit the signal through neurotransmitter release and into the synaptic cleft, which that will release where the synapse and bind with the receptor, the neurotransmitter receptor, will lead to postsynaptic neurotransmitter receptor to uptake, and the influx of the ions will lead to extra synaptic neurotransmitter receptor also required for the getting the nerve impulse to the postsynaptic neuron. And in this way, this is the presynaptic neurotransmitter receptor also present, is used for the depolarization of the nerves, the neuron ending, which that will transmit the signal. For example, the calcium will inside move, will lead to exocytosis of the neurotransmitter from the vesicle. So in this way, the network generation, the seizure we will discuss now. So first of all, the sensory afferent nerves, which that will become from the somatic nervous system, the peripheral nervous system will lead to go into the thalamus, and after going to the thalamus, the TC, the thalamic, basically the TC to this is the excitatory neuron. So here is the corticothalamic network, which that is contain cortex, thalamus, and NRT. This is the excitatory neuron also present here in the sensory afferent we receive to excite, and the thalamus, which that involve the inhibitory neuron to inhibit, lead to excitatory neuron for excitation to stimulate the NRT, while the NRT will inhibit the sensory afferent. And in this way, the inhibitory neuron and excitatory neuron will work as a circuit for the inhibition and stimulation, the consciousness. So the network generation, the seizure we will discuss here. So the inhibition through inhibitory neuron when active to release the GABA, and in this way the GABA will bind with the excitatory neuron to inhibit, lead to normal function. While the disinhibition due to the inhibitory neuron will activate, will lead to inhibit the inhibitory neuron. So in this way, the disinhibition will lead to independently stimulate the excitatory neuron, lead to excite more, and the seizure can occur. Well, let's begin to understand the further process and the causes. So basically, the genetic defect, the DNA, which that will not produce too much GABA receptor. In this way, the GABA will not bind, and that is why the GABA will not bind. Neurotransmitter is normal, but the GABA receptor is not normal. So in this way, lead to single gene mutation is more than 2%. Less than 2%, while the multiple gene plus E and V involve, and the 200 genes or more involves, and the GABA receptor gene defects, genetic disorder. So anyhow, the diagnosis, let's begin to understand. The diagnosis is the symptoms. We can identify the symptom to understand the seizure type, while the generalized or partial or focal. On the other hand, the history, the family history, the medical history, medical history, not family history, the medical history, and the EEG, the partial and generalized, and genetic disorder. So also the treatment through sodium channel target as well as the GABA receptor, and also the dietary therapy is the ketogenic diet. That's it. And in this way, this is the epilepsy short review about the seizure. So thanks for watching. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and share. If you like this video, thanks. Bye. Next video we will understand the further biomedical science video.